Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. I am back at it. Hope everybody's doing fine. Just trying to stay consistent with this. Okay, guys. Gonna jump right into the topic here. And big ups to the people coming in on the replay as well. Glad you guys can make it there as well. Okay, so let's dive right into the topic, guys. Tariffs on tools, and are domestic made tools better than China made? Yeah. So anyway, the reason I'm discussing this tonight is because I was in the rig earlier, the big rig. Yeah. Sometimes I still truck, and I go in and out of the ports a lot, right? And I ask myself, since we haul a lot of freight out of the port, a lot of foreign freight, in other words, stuff coming from overseas, China and a lot of other places. And I got to thinking about tariffs and our China is Chinese made or foreign made products better or not, right? You grow up all your life and you hear the saying that, hey, it's made in China, and it's always a negative connotation when it comes to Chinese made tools. And I've had stuff made in China myself, my own products, right? And I don't know if that's necessarily true, right? So I'm not here to dispel any myths. Everybody has their own experience with products, right? Whether it's made in China, made here or not. But I have my own experience by actually having products made in China myself. So I figured I'll just talk about that, right? So tariffs. Let's attack one. Let's attack the tariff issue first, okay? So how have they affected tool prices? Okay. What are tariffs anyway? So if you don't know, a tariff is basically another tax on goods that come into the country. All right. So when the government, say the U.S. government or any government, imposes a tax on a product coming from, say, China, for instance, then the people that buy that product from overseas have to pay an extra tax, right? And what do they do with that? They pass that on to the customer. That's just how it works. That's how business works. So how has that affected tools, right? This channel is all about tools. So I decided to just focus on that. So let's, upon further research, I looked into the history of based on the recent history of tariffs on Chinese goods in particular, right? When it came to tools. So let's see what we find here. It says back in back in 2018 and 19, hand tools, right? Not power tools. They were hit first with a 10% tariff, and that later increased to 25%. And then power tools and other components, they were also affected, but I don't think as much as the 25%. So hand tools took the brunt of the tariffs there, okay? So as time went on, fast forward to 2020 to 24, that 4-year period, most of those tariffs remained in place. And, there may have been some adjustments along the way, but for the most part, they remained in place. So up to now, if you want to summarize how tariffs have affected tool prices, I would say, according to the research, there's been about a 10 to 30% increase in price on tools, right? And so guess what that's going to do, guys? If you got that, not only for the DIYer, right, you're going to pay more at the cash register for that tool that may have cost 30% less before 2018 or 19, 20. But the contractor, right, they got to buy tools too. So guess what? They're going to pass that cost on to you for whatever product that project that they're working on for you, right? So this is, tariffs have a direct impact. It has a ripple effect on pretty much everything, right? So let's see here. All kinds of tools, higher end tools, budget tools. That's just the regular, tools that you would throw around. Everything was affected. Okay. And at the end of the day, guys, prices just shot up. So to give a quick summary of that, it says basic hand tool sets shot up about 25%, power tools 20%, specialty tools 20 to 35% it shot up, and then replacement parts shot up as well. So I don't care if you're getting something done or whether you're doing it yourself, whether you're going to the mechanic, anything having to do with repairs and fixing things, you're gonna, everything went up, right? It's not just inflation, it's tariffs, guys. So you're getting hit with inflation and tariffs. So don't be surprised if your wallet's a little lighter after you walk into the home improvement store. Okay. So let's see if we could jump to that other question about quality. Okay, that's why I said is our Chinese tools of a lower quality? Well, quality isn't necessarily determined by where something's made or what they say the country of origin, but the three factors that determine quality is manufacturer specifications, quality control, and price point. Okay, so let's see here. So if you're there are different levels when you think about China, for instance, right? Because they're the kings, I would say, of manufacturing in this day and age right now. Let's start at the lowest level. That's called budget manufacturing. And when I produced when I manufactured my picture hanging tool right here, I had this made overseas in the beginning. Now it's made right here in the U.S. because of certain. That's a long story, okay? But it is a U.S. made product. When I had it made, I really didn't have an idea of the different levels because I was a novice at the time, right? I was just trying to get my product out there, and I was just okay. Let's just get it done. Do what you got to do. And a big mistake that I used, and I guess I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but you have to be very careful when you're getting stuff made overseas, right? If you have a middleman, right? And when I say middleman, that's just a generic term. It could be a woman or a man, right? It doesn't have to be a man. In my case, I actually had a woman. She was the liaison between me and my manufacturer. You got to be very careful about these people that you may want to hire, right, to take care of your Chinese business or overseas business, wherever it's at, because you're not just paying for the product to be made overseas, you're actually paying them as well. So if, for something that may have cost you maybe $7 to make, when you add a middleman in there, you could end up paying $14 for it or $10. Okay. And, so you got to be careful with that as well. But that's a story for another day. I wasn't necessarily thinking about the tiers, the different levels of manufacturing in China, right? You have what's called budget manufacturing. That's where there's very low quality control. You're probably paying the less. That's why it's called budget, right? You're paying the least amount for that product. The product's probably designed for light use, and it's pretty much a generic product. So that's the budget level, okay? You're not going to be expecting high quality or premium, a premium good. You're just getting something stamped out. And then above that, you have mid-range manufacturing. That's tier 2. Okay, so the product's a little better. You have the price point is it matches the quality, right? Same with the budget, right? The price point is lower because it's a lower quality product. Like I said, the quality control is a little better. It's designed for not just light use, but professional use. So some tool examples or brands that we know of in the tool world that may be using tier 2 or mid-range manufacturing is what they call it, is Craftsman, Ryobi, and a lot of other different brands, okay? And then you have tier 1, right? Tier 1, the first level, the premium Chinese manufacturing. You have, I would say, Milwaukee, DeWalt, Bosch. I don't know where Festool makes their product. Is that a German product? I'm not sure. I should know, right? But that's the highest level right there, right? The quality control is top notch. The specifications are top notch. The facilities where they make it is top notch. They have all the modern equipment to make these tier 1 products. And some may say that level of Chinese manufacturing is comparable to Western manufacturing, right? Over here in the West, not just the United States, but say some parts of Europe, I guess, right? And then that's questionable, right? You could get a product made here in the U.S. or the West, and it's still not hold up in terms of quality, right? So it's supposed to be that way, but that's not always the case. So I guess I'm kind of dispelling the myth about China not having being able to compete in terms of quality when it comes to manufacturing. There are levels to the game, in other words, and they've mastered that, right? Their top customers are going to be they're going to be wanting that tier one level manufacturing for their stuff, right? And they probably pay less. Well, with the tariffs now, of course, probably not compared to the U.S. I haven't really done the deep dive into that yet, but yeah, there are levels to it, right? So having something made over there, you just got to know the levels and know what you're dealing with, instead of just saying, oh yeah, I'm just gonna have something made over there, and and all that, and then you get back something, it's crap, right? Well, you didn't do your research yet. And that's what you're supposed to do. Hopefully I'm educating you on this as someone who has actually been through the trenches and had my stuff made different over there in China and other places. So let's see here. Okay, as compared to the U.S. Okay, let's see what we got here. Anybody ever seen the Snap-on trucks, Snap-on tools, SK tools, Wright tools? Those guys actually made. They have their stuff made here, and those are high-end tools, hand tools, and stuff like that. So, and they're like what's considered specialty professional tools, and so they're made here, and they have a higher quality. Some may say it's excellent when it comes to that, right? Excellent quality control. Then you have warranties. You have, of course, it would cost more because of the labor costs as well. And the range of products is usually limited, right? It's not like a smorgasbord of things, right? They pretty much have a mapped out a certain type of product that they create, and they just stick to that. They're not all over the place. Like in China, you could just go on, say, Alibaba or some Chinese website, and they have everything in the book, right? Like it's all over the place, right? And so, but when it comes to quality, you're not all over the place, right? You're focused on a specific genre, if that's the word to use, in the tool world, and you focus on that, and you make it as higher quality you can, okay, for your customers. And that's what pretty much the American or certain American companies, tool companies, are that's how they handle their business in that world. Okay, let's see. So let's do a comparison, right? Let's do a comparison. Where does the U.S. excel when it comes to manufacturing as far as tools? It says precision hand tools is where the U.S. excels, right? Wrenches and sockets, specialty professional tools, and they're pretty much consistent across their whole product line. And when it comes to warranties and customer service, that's where one of the biggest selling points U.S. manufacturers have. And of course, that makes sense for U.S. customers, right? You want to have your customer service be better than China's or some other place across the water. You don't want their customer service to be better. And just in terms of logistics, it just makes sense that your customer service would be better buying U.S. tools, right? They can get it to you faster. It may cost a little more, but you get more attention from U.S. companies or manufacturers. And this is more of a B2B conversation, but it can also be considered a B2C conversation as well. Now, what about China? Where are they excelling? Okay, guess what? What do you think they're excelling in? Power tools, for example, right? You would think the U.S. would be, excelling in that, but it says China excels in power tools, right? When it comes to innovation speed, right? they're excelling in that. Cost to performance ratio, they excel in that. Product variety and availability. Like I said, they got everything under the sun, right? The U.S. can't compare when it comes to the variety of different types of products that China has. They just keep, they just keep cranking them out, and their whole economy pretty much is, I don't want to say the whole economy, but a good portion of their economy is based on manufacturing, and they've fine-tuned it, dialed it in so much that they're able to create on higher levels. All right. Because I think a lot of that has to do with culture outside of just manufacturing stuff. Their culture is, they have bred their culture, maybe that's not the word, but they have definitely trained their people, right, to be on one accord, right? And that's very important, right? They're mostly an homogenous society, even though different cultures live there. But for the most part, they're mostly homogenous. So they're already a step ahead when it comes to that. In the U.S., the culture is so fragmented, right? So I'm not saying there are not good companies that really train up their people in the U.S. and have a good culture in the company, but China, I think, excels not just in companies, but on a social level, right? They eat, sleep, and breathe manufacturing over there. So I'm sure when they go home at night, they're still at work, kind of, right? It's like, so obviously, when it comes to innovation, speed, and just the sheer numbers, and they're probably not paying their people as much as you would pay here. So there's not a lot of labor disputes, and that has a lot to do with the type of system that they run as well, right? In terms of the governmental system. So I think all that factors into why China excels at these things, right? Mainly innovation, speed, performance, and being able to crank out such a variety of products that the U.S. necessarily can't compete in, because it has these underlying issues that you wouldn't even connect to a company, right? In other words, social issues, cultural issues that can bleed into how a company is ran on a national scale, right? Not just in a city or just, So yeah, and I think that's where a lot of companies in the U.S., like say take for instance, Jeff Bezos and Amazon, they're trying to model that kind of system without becoming a China, right? Without becoming a China, they're trying to become a China, So, and with the advent of AI and all this stuff, it's just the battle is just going to get more fierce, right? And with this administration vying for resources, and China pulling away from the U.S. and finding other markets to excel, namely Africa, for example. It's going to be a very interesting times. I think that the U.S. is also vying for Africa, because Africa has the most people, the most young people in the world, right? And its population is growing, right? So that's another. But the thing with that is, are these superpowers, if you want to call them that, just taking advantage of Africa and not actually building it up themselves, or building up the continent, right? Or are they just bleeding them dry, okay, in this battle, right? Using Africa as a proxy, okay, in which to pretty much see who wins, right? Go at it, head to head, hand to hand combat, all that stuff. Okay, let's continue. So we broke down the comparison of where both the U.S. and China, these are my case studies in this talk, have excelled, okay? But the truth about quality says a $200 Chinese-made Milwaukee drill often outperforms a $150 U.S. assembled competitor, okay? A $10 Chinese wrench is usually inferior to a $50 made wrench. Price point and brand standards matter more than origin, okay? So I guess the point of saying all that, it's not about where it's made, it's about the quality, right? It's about the standards, it's about the specifications, mainly quality control. So you can have something made here in the US, and if the quality control sucks, then, you know, it doesn't matter where it's made. Okay. So that's what you have to look at. So, but for the most part, the average consumer is not a quality control expert. They're not going into they're only a quality control expert after the fact, after they buy the product and experience it for themselves, right? Which at that point is too late because they already got your money. But yeah, so just don't be so quick to say that, oh, I'm not going to get something from there because it's, you know, it's that place, right? That would be silly in this day and age. You know, before we did that, but that would be silly. I mean, look at the car. Remember the car brand Hyundai, and when a Hyundai came out, or Yugo. I don't know if Yugo is still around, but I know Hyundai is still around, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember nobody wanted to have anything to do with a Hyundai. They wouldn't be caught dead in a Hyundai. But if you look at the Hyundai right now, the cars look pretty good. They look better than some, you know, more popular brands, in my opinion, with the models that. So they, you know, it's not about where it's made. Okay. So what else here? Once again, it's about quality control at the end of the day. And let's see here. Supply chain negative version. I think that is it, guys. I'm not going to go through all this other stuff. It's kind of minuscule fine print that's there, and I don't feel that's necessary. But at the end of the day, if you're going to buy, say, American, right, precision hand tools is where we excel at, okay? Even for professional use as well, right? Not just a DIY person, but precision hand tools. You get the warranty, you get the customer service. That's where you're gonna, you know, and customer service can make or break a business. That's a pretty big thing right there, okay? And so, and when it comes to power tools, you may want to consider China because that's where they excel at. Once again, Milwaukee and all those brands, power tools, okay? China. Yeah, some people may not want to hear that, but that's what the research bears out. Okay, so innovation, China. Let's face it. Some of us need to travel more, right? To see what's really out there. Get out of our bubble and all of that. All right. So basically that's it, guys. Hopefully you learned something from this. You can do your own research and you know, check out the next video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. By the way, guys, I'm coming out with a power tool mastery for beginners, where I put together all my digital assets concerning power tools in a nice packaged form to give, you know, to download and watch for you and your kids. I'm all about the trades, advocating the trades, because we're going to need them soon. People that know, right? And so look out for that. It's coming down the pike. And I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.